Grind don't stop. Grind don't stop. Grind don't stop. Grind don't stop. Grind don't stop.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Chewed Gum. I'm Arden Hart, and with me today is Taylor. How you doing, Taylor?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing good, although our call in studio did just crash in the middle of that opening song, so I'm like, wow, really good timing. The camera's just about to turn on, and now I gotta sort something out on the side over here, of course. Well, we're here. We have open lines. If you want to tell us why we should believe in God, or why women in general need to believe in God, or anything kind of along those lines, or if you just want to make an argument for God in general, number is 720-619-2288. We do have lines open. Yes, I see some of y'all who are here for the Super Forrest and Eric episode last night, just dropping the word monad. That's going to be the new inside joke across the channel. If you believe in the monad, please, maybe you don't call, but anyone else who wants to call, please do call. What's new with you, Taylor? It's been a while since we've hosted together.
I'm trying to think. So I got another guinea pig and I was trying to introduce her to my other guinea pigs, and it was like watching a dog fight, but with guinea pigs. It was awful.
Oh
And
no.
and I tried to split it up. I shouldn't have done that. Well, I should have like had on gloves or something. But my one guinea pig totally like attacked my finger and would not let go. And it was horrific. So this whole week I've been trying to like slowly introduce them, because the first time went so terribly. It was literally just like a ball of all three of them were fighting at once. It was just like a ball of fur like flying around. So
Oh no. Oh.
I'm gonna continue to try, but yeah, that's been fun.
That's so hard with animals when they get locked in that like fear response mode. Like there's no like thinking or reasoning going on after that, you know? Oh,
yeah, and it's also funny seeing something like guinea pigs do that, because they're such sweet little prey animals, and then you see them like going out for blood, and you're like, what the hell is that?
Right.
But yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Anything new with you?
Just, just trying to keep this ship afloat over here at the line. No, we've got some actually new, really exciting things coming down the pipeline. There we go. New show title. Yeah, so many new exciting things, both between like our Patreon and the stuff we're doing on like the main channel and some of our side channels. Like there's a lot of new development coming. So that's really exciting. Although it is a lot. The line is a lot. Yeah. I love you guys, but it's a lot. And yeah, so we're going to be, buckle up, everybody. It's going to be a crazy last half of the year. But yeah, so I don't know. That's it. Nothing too crazy exciting. I just got back
pretty
from
exciting, though.
A couple of like atheist conventions. I was at Secular Student Alliance and then the Nashville Nuns Convention last weekend. Was it last weekend? Or was it 2 weeks ago now? Time goes by so fast.
I've never heard of what is the Nashville Nuns Convention? Like, what is that?
Yeah, it's kind of a sort of newer one. I think they've been going since like 2016 or something, but this was like their biggest one they've ever done, and it was phenomenal. One of the best conventions I've been to in a long time. Like, shout out to Patrick and Secular Rarity and everyone who put that together. Great job. But yeah, it's just like a convention for a bunch of atheist, secular people. It's based in the Nashville area, but people come from all over to go to it. It's in this beautiful, secluded little hotel in like a national park. Is really, really awesome. Great conversations, so many cool people.
That's
Everyone
cool.
just felt like they were so unified on the idea of like, we're here to beat Christian nationalism, and all the extra stuff, all the drama that's kind of in the
Yeah,
community is just kind of noise, which was like, it's nice to see
that's
everyone like
amazing.
really focused and honed in on like problem
Yeah,
solving, you know?
yeah, absolutely. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah. I know sometimes
That's
we
really
get caught
good.
up in like, I mean, listen, I love the atheist community, but it's a lot of straight cis white men and with a
Yeah.
lot of college
Yeah.
attainment, and like, so they can be
Yep.
kind of like, ooh, the most important thing for me to do right now is talk about astrology and why that's stupid and that
Right.
kind of stuff. And it's
Right.
like, there's a
We have
place
some
for
bigger
that.
issues.
But yeah, there's some
Yeah.
bigger issues, you know. There's like a fucking,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, I was gonna, never mind. I don't want to bring the show down. We're at the beginning of the show. We're gonna be high energy. Let's go. Uh, um, so we do have some open lines. If you are ready, we can take some of our first calls. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm ready to go.
All right. Um, let's talk to you first, since I was just like, let's keep the energy positive and high energy. This isn't a positive call, but out of the two topics, that is sounds like the least distressing of the two of them. So we're going to talk to Tatiana first. She, her in New Jersey, is an atheist who wants to talk about microaggressions between cis and trans women. Hell yeah, TACIS takeover here on Chewed Gum. What's going on, Tatiana? Oops, sorry, your audio is muted, actually. Let's try that again. You are live on the line with Arden and Taylor. How you doing, Tatiana?
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yep, coming through.
Oh yeah. Hi. How you ladies doing? How's it going?
Doing great.
Good. How are you?
Good. So I've called into the show a few times in the past few years. Arden, this is my first time getting to speak with you, and Taylor, you as well. So it's so nice to speak with both of you. So my question was, so I noticed, so we have a show for women, we have a show for trans people, and then now we have an opportunity for a trans woman and a cis woman to talk together. And so I had a specific question, and I was curious about microaggressions. And this is going to have something to do with passing. I don't know if I should say this or not, but Arden, I feel like you pass, and but I know there was a time when you were initially transitioning that obviously wasn't the case. So I was just curious, what are some microaggressions you've experienced from cis women, like just trying in your everyday life, and like it's not necessarily that they don't approve of like maybe they approve of trans women, but maybe like it's their first time seeing one. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so like, how do you feel that went? And Taylor, you as well. Do you feel like obviously if you ever saw a trans woman that passed, it never crossed your mind, but if there was a trans woman that didn't, what went through your mind, and maybe what your friends thought, or is that an appropriate question? Is that okay? Or
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine. It's not, oh, I mean, I guess not completely on the topic of the show. This would be a great call for TACIS, but I think we can talk about it. I mean, I feel like the ones that I'm the most used to are the like quintessential welcome to womanhood questions, where it's like, when men are being misogynistic towards you and they're like, oh, welcome to womanhood. And it's like, okay, I deal with this kind of all the time. So it's like the first time you are
yeah,
seeing a trans person encounter misogyny, like you are having this revelation and you're kind of projecting it onto me. I mean, and there's definitely, just like we had a caller on TACIS last week, for example, who like was very insistent that spaces have been historically sex segregated, right? And I would say that on paper,
Okay.
absolutely, they are labeled as like male and female spaces, but that in practice they're functionally gender segregated, right? Like there's no biological
Yeah.
enforcement mechanism in any of these spaces. People watch you go in, they do a little calculation in their brain, and assuming that you don't like trip a certain red flag, they're just going to ignore you entering or not entering a certain space, right? Like it's
Yeah.
like you're
Yeah.
talking about, it
Exactly.
kind of has to do with passing or whatever. And it's kind of, I don't know, like when occasionally cis women will really harp on like sex segregated spaces, it feels to me like that is coming from a place of assuming that everything has had to do with a relationship to their biology, when I think a lot of it is social in its nature. Um,
hmm
but, definitely people who are assigned female deal with certain things that people who are assigned male don't. And like that's totally valid to talk about too. It just certain contexts it can kind of come off the wrong way. Um, I don't know, Taylor, if you had thoughts on Tatiana's questions for you.
Um, I mean, I've seen those microaggressions happen a lot because I worked for a company for 8 years, and multiple of my coworkers were trans women, and I feel like most of the I feel like people making certain comments, whether it's about like passing or non-passing, are weird to me in general because I think commenting about people's looks in general are strange to me and not like
Mm-hmm.
anything that I would ever like think about doing because I feel like it like you're not very like I feel like it lacks some like social awareness to be saying that stuff to people in the first place. And I just also think it's pretty bizarre to see this, and I know people see this online a lot, to for some women to feel some kind of weird threat, and so
Mm-hmm.
threat to their quote unquote womanhood, and then they make weird like microaggressions towards trans women. Um I also have a hard time understanding that because I just genuinely don't know why you would, number 1, feel the need to be threatened, number 2, why that would mean anything about you, like the person. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I've definitely seen that a lot. Um, it makes me feel like it comes from a place of insecurity, but I don't know what the insecurity exactly is because if you like I don't know, it just makes me feel like maybe you're just not secure about who you are, but it's confusing, you know?
It feels to me like it's
No,
like a
I
resource guarding kind of mentality. Sorry, Tatiana, I do want to give you a chance to respond.
Yeah.
It feels like if you ever encountered like a dog out of a shelter who like won't even let you touch like a toy, like it'll growl at you and like snap at you because it's like this is my one thing that I know is mine. Like stay. That's what it feels like
Yeah.
to me a lot of the time, where it's like oh, well, I'm already so oppressed in society. I already have so little. You are encroaching on my space, and that's how it reads to me. But like I'm sure it's different for like every person. But sorry, Tatiana, I know
Yeah.
you were about to kind of give your
no,
thoughts.
not yeah, not a problem at all. Thank you so much, Arden. No, that's what I thought. Like, I almost thought before I even called in, like, this might be a wasted question because, like, unless, like, obviously you two are very conscientious and in tune with the LGBT community, so it's like maybe I should have called into some sort of conservative show, or you know what I mean? Like maybe this was a non-question to you two, or what do you think?
I mean,
Mm.
Or maybe if by asking, because I've learned that maybe other people that watch the show, they've learned from watching that. So maybe it's in the best interest to do so. But Arden, you were saying?
well, no, I mean, it depends on what kind of, you know, like answers you're looking for. I mean, if you want to look into the mind of somebody who's prejudiced against trans people, you probably should talk to that person, and kind of dig around for their reasons why. But I mean, there are definitely plenty of shows, plenty of atheists who have problematic views on trans people, who I'm sure you could leave a comment asking what their thoughts are. Although they don't tend to, the people who are vocally anti-trans don't tend to respond to sincere questions very often, I find.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there are definitely, I'm sure there are even some people on this channel who, like, their mood towards trans people is positive and supportive, but they don't know as much or think a lot about these issues super deeply. I know Aaron Ra called me a few weeks ago just to be like, hey, somebody's arguing with me on Facebook and I don't even understand half of like what they're trying to throw at me. Because he's just like,
Raw called you?
yeah, he's a good friend. He was just so like detached from the.
No, I mean, I would assume. I just think it's funny that he called you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that he knows a lot of other trans activists in the atheist space who are doing this kind of stuff. But yeah, it's, you know, I don't know. I'm all that to say, I'm sure there's some other hosts on the line who, if you wanted to peer more into the mind of somebody who's maybe not talking about this issue a lot or not talking about social issues a lot, I'm sure there are people who would like be willing to give you their thoughts. But
Well, my only point, I thought it was interesting in that a cis and trans woman were on the line at the same time, where normally on Chew Gum and the the trans show at different times. And so it's like, oh, like maybe we could tackle this topic. I thought it was an interesting thing. But I could can it here if that's okay.
yeah, no worries. I mean, we appreciate you calling in and asking either way. I wish I had something more interesting to give you. Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
No. It's not a matter about being interesting. It's a matter of real life experience, and if the experience benefits anybody listening. You know what I mean? Anyway, ladies, this was I love talking to both of you. This is great. Have a good Tuesday. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
What were you about to share? You were about to say something.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I feel like from my experience, and I know there's all different, I feel like reasons someone could be like hateful or transphobic, but growing up in like a really small town, literally every single person I know who is outwardly transphobic has never had a conversation with a trans person in their entire life.
Mhm.
And it's super annoying because I've come to a realization like that with like a lot of things, even like gay people, atheists, like whatever it might be. A lot of it has to do with like not having any exposure to people who are different than them. Even that's like not an excuse in any kind of way, but it's just frustrating to know that a lot of the times that's the entire reason is they never. Well, it makes sense, obviously, why smaller towns, and people in like non-cities would be more likely to be like that is because they're fed, terrible stereotypes or terrible information about people and groups of people they've literally never met in their lives. And if they're never going to meet people who they're told these terrible things about, they're not going to ever see that it's any different or change their mind about it, which is just like a really frustrating thing because you can't make somebody experience something that they don't want to or that they haven't, even if you try and like talk to them about it. But that's all I was really gonna say.
Yeah, no, there's actually some good data on this. I don't remember exactly what it was from, but that showed that like one of the most significantly correlated factors with being approving of trans rights and not being trans was knowing a trans person.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Especially, I mean, like, you definitely wouldn't think trans women are a threat to sports if you met trans people. Are you kidding me? We're all so awkward and clumsy. Never. Just kidding. There's obviously some trans people out there who are athletically capable, but it's not any of the ones that I've met. Okay. So we do have some other callers on the line. We also still have lines open. No theists have called in yet, so nobody's here to represent your side.
Dang.
I just want you to have the chance to defend your positions. Consider calling in 720-619-2288. So I think we're going to talk to next Spruce, they, them in California. Spruce, I'm going to bring you live, but really quick before we jump into your call, obviously this is a pretty sensitive topic, and so I would ask that you please tread super, super carefully.
Yep.
I don't want to have to cut off this call early and unfairly, so yeah.
I plan on keeping it G-rated, PG at most, and I'm going to be using a lot of euphemisms. I don't know what the call screener put in the thing.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, no, that sounds good. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I had a near-death experience about a month ago now. I've been wanting to call in and talk about it for a while because everybody who I talk to about it in my real life either just asserts that it's a dream or tells me that, like, God saved me. And I don't really believe either of those things, and so I don't know what to think.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess just I don't know where to start. So if you have any questions.
So, like, when you say, like, are you what? Like, what do you think? Like, what do you think when you think about your near-death experience? Like, how do you view it? I guess what you're saying, like, how other people view it or what they say about it. Like,
Yeah.
what are
Well,
your thoughts on it?
my thoughts on it are just that I can't explain it. I don't have an explanation, and I don't know what happened. But I'm very uncomfortable with that, and I really want to have an explanation. And I know that that doesn't necessarily mean that I will get one. I just
Right.
don't know what happened. I guess part of it is that I had the whole experience right up until, like, I was dead. And I was dead for a period that felt like several years and simultaneously like 1 second. Like, it was really weird. And then I woke up in my own bed, and all of the evidence of what I had done the previous night to harm myself was gone.
Okay. And so you like it bothers you that you don't know what it really was, or you'll never really know what it was?
Exactly. And it's a little bit strange because I do feel like somebody saved me, like some sort of god or something, but I don't know who that god is. I used to identify as a Gnostic atheist, but I'm much more agnostic now, and I don't know if I'm an atheist or not anymore.
Interesting.
Gotcha.
So,
So,
or sorry, no, go ahead. I want you to finish your, yeah.
I wasn't really going to say much, just that, I understand, like, obviously, I've never had that kind of experience, so I don't understand that specifically. But I think it can be really frustrating to not have answers to things that we really want to know. But I also think that, see, it's hard because I've struggled with things like that, but not in the obviously the same experience where now I'm comfortable with like not knowing things and knowing that, there could possibly be something, but I just don't know. But I'm sure with this experience, it's like a lot more, even more personal because it's happened like in your own mind or in your own experience or whatever, and not just like a question about, like general questions
Exactly.
about, yeah, like life and stuff. So
And it's not an
that's
experience
hard.
that I heard from someone else or something either. Like,
Right.
it's something that happened to me. So normally I would just dismiss something like this out of hand and say, like, yeah, that didn't happen. But
Right.
because I have no evidence that it happened, and claims that are made with no evidence can be dismissed without evidence, right? Like, you guys harp on that one a bit on the show.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just a weird place for me emotionally because I don't know. On the one hand, like, I know what the most likely explanation is, but at the same time, it just doesn't feel satisfying, you know?
So can I, just to try to understand kind of what experience you're having.
Hmm.
So you're saying like the evidence of whatever kind of like harm was incurred was like not there when you woke up? Was there an experience kind
Yeah.
of while you were unconscious that is making, or is it just the fact that you feel like there should have been evidence that just kind of vanished? That's what's getting you.
Yeah. Well, it was like the whole experience was several hours long, probably 3 to 4 hours. And I'm trying not to say specific things, but there should
Sure.
have been physical marks on my body. There should have been.
Mhm.
And more than that, there should have been a note. I found the specific piece of paper that I know I wrote it on because there was something on the back. And it was blank. And like everything that I used was back where it originally was, and there was no bodily fluids or like residue that should have been there.
Mhm.
So it just, yeah, like, I don't know. Even saying it now, I feel like it's just got to be a dream, but at the same time, that doesn't feel right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I think it's right to just stick with like the I don't know, first of all, is what the answer is, because, obviously we're only getting your story and we're very intentionally filtering out some of the details um
Yes.
and all of
And it
that
will always
stuff.
be an I don't know.
Yeah, I'm only just asking questions more so I can kind of like, you're asking like
Hmm.
what could it be? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I hate to be trite because I'm sure you've heard this before, but like obviously the brain floods you know, your brain
Yep.
floods itself with certain like adrenaline chemicals when you're about to die.
Hmm.
They're supposed to give you that lift, that sense of like feeling okay and kind of enlightened towards the end of your life. So it wouldn't
Yes.
be
And I
surprising to
definitely,
me that a combination of that experience along with whatever, your brain kind of concocted while you were unconscious might have sort of
mhm.
manufactured some memories that kind of probably loosely tie things that actually happened together, but maybe filled in some blanks with
With,
information that you
and like,
that it wasn't actually what happened just because your brain was trying to piece together and make sense of the experience. But um yeah, I mean
that,
I just know that for
that
me, I
makes
would
sense.
always defer to if I can think of a physical natural explanation, I'm always going to think that
Hmm.
that seems more likely than a supernatural one. So to me, it's
Of
just
course.
like if I can conjure any sort of logically possible scenario, that's always going to be infinitely more likely to me than any sort of like, supernatural response.
Yeah. See, and I would have said the same thing even a month ago, but then it happened to me, and it feels really different when it happens to you. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I've had spiritual experiences in the past where like I thought God was talking to me or whatever when I was still a Christian. Um, but this wasn't like that. Like whenever that would happen, there was always that element of like, yeah, I know that I'm just talking to myself. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like there's a certain element of dishonesty, at least to me when I was a Christian, when I would pray. I was not really being honest with myself. And so this time I'm trying to really be honest with myself, right? Like I don't want to do that again, but I also don't want to believe in things that are false, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I always thought that I would listen to sometimes like podcasts and stuff about near death experiences, and I thought they were really interesting, even now as
Mm,
an atheist. But I also don't think you should feel bad if you think like there might be something else. I think that's like perfectly okay, and you don't have to
mm,
be like, no, I can't think that. Because like I was saying earlier, there are a lot of times where you know, again, I'm atheist, so I don't really believe in like really much of
the
anything supernatural, but
supernatural.
because
Yeah.
right, but because I'm fully aware that I can't know everything, I think it is interesting to like think about those things or talk about them or whatever. And I don't think you should like, I think it's okay if you're like, hey, maybe this leads me to believe that there is something else out there, even if I don't know what that is. I think that's
Hmm.
perfectly okay. But I'm sure it is like shocking if you were in a spot where you're like, oh, I definitely don't believe, you know,
Yeah.
really any of that stuff,
Well,
and now I might be questioning, you know.
it is shocking, and more than that, like I don't know what to do for next step. I like tried going back to church, and it was just awful. It wasn't
Yeah.
awful. It was boring, and a whole bunch of the stuff he said I know isn't true because I've been watching your show and I've been watching other people's shows. Um, Dan McClellan or whoever has helped me a lot with that. But then I feel like
Hmm.
I don't have anywhere to turn now. You know,
Yeah, I think like,
kind of
and
a
it,
weird.
like middle ground. Yeah, and
Yeah.
one thing to think about that I've thought about before when I was in a kind of in between stage of, you know, leaving Christianity and also thinking there might be something else when I was in that stage is
Mhm.
uh it doesn't have to be like religion. It doesn't have to be there could be something that we don't even know about or some, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to. I don't feel
Yeah.
like anybody has to then turn to religion
Like
and be like, "Oh, well
promises
one of these
unicorns.
must be true." Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Promises
it
pink
could just
unicorns.
be
She always brings them up. Yeah.
yeah, there could just like there's a ton of people out there who just consider themselves spiritual where they're like, I don't know, there might be something and
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of it, which it makes sense to me when people are more on that end than like, oh, it must be this
Yeah.
specific religion or like belief system. Even though again, I don't consider myself spiritual, but to me, I can empathize and understand why people there's a lot of people out there who are just in general like quote unquote spiritual because, you know, we don't know
Yeah.
everything. So,
Exactly.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that's an option that I haven't really been considering. Like I tend to go in extremes. I'm a very black and white thinker. So
Mhm.
if I'm
Mhm.
not an atheist, I have to be religious, right? But that's not true.
Right.
That tracks
Right.
with you saying you were a hard atheist because I was like, I don't think anyone on this channel, not like, 20 plus people who've
Yeah.
made a career on being a public atheist, I don't think any of us consider ourselves a hard atheist.
Yeah. Well, and I did for a very long time. Just it was kind of like I came up in the YouTube edgelord atheist phase.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
um,
Yeah.
like the yeah. So I was really into like Richard Dawkins until he started being racist and transphobic and stuff.
Mhm.
But then because of that, like a lot of the people who I used to respect in that regard, I don't really respect anymore. Um, it
Yeah.
it is weird because I would have before really strongly identified that way, but I don't anymore.
I
And
will,
it happened like suddenly. I think
yeah.
if I have one thing going for me is that it's that I'm an honest person. Like I will not lie about God. And if I actually
Mhm.
think he's real, I will tell people that he's real. And if I don't think he's real, I'll tell people that. But I'm at a weird place now where I don't know,
Yeah. I would offer a
which is
Right.
few
uncomfortable for me.
resources. I mean, I'm sure if you've been watching this channel, you've heard us talk about recovering from religion. We
Hmm.
love that organization, everything they do. They have, their 24-hour call line and a number of other resources for people who are in exactly your position. I would say if
Do you
you're
know if that's
really,
available in Canada?
yeah, I believe all that resource should be available in Canada.
Okay.
I'm like
Yeah.
95% sure. I could be wrong,
Yeah,
but
I'm pretty sure.
um the other thing I would recommend is if you want a look up like the AmericanHumanist.org for the American Humanist
Mm.
Association. They have a local American Humanist Association group finder. I will say downside to a lot of those groups, they tend to be run and operated by people who are a little bit older in the community, which not like there's anything wrong with that. But I
Yeah,
mean, if you are like younger than 40, sometimes you can feel a little out of place in those environments because they're kind of like often, I mean, let's just
that's
call it
fair
like it
enough.
is older, wealthier people who are like, let's go get brunch at this expensive restaurant. Not
Yeah,
exactly
right?
relatable for everyone, but some of them are really great. Somebody in the chat
Yeah.
also mentioned no nonsense spirituality. I don't always agree with everything she says,
Yes.
but she's like a very
Mhm.
What's her name?
spiritual,
Yeah.
Sorry?
a no nonsense spirituality. forget her actual name, but
Okay.
she's an
Britt
atheist.
Hartley.
Yes. She's an atheist, but she's very into like spirituality and sort of kind of cultivating that experience. So I don't know. There's
Well, one of the
definitely
things I've been thinking about is like Satanism, but there's not a chapter near me because that really makes sense to me. Like Satan as the rebellious figure.
I will say I'm a little bit dubious on Satanists. They do great political action, and I think that's kind of their place as a like serious community forming group. I'm not sure that they are what I would direct someone towards personally. So I'm just a
Fair
really
enough.
big fan of humanism. I think what they stand for and their like stated values, like the Third Humanist Manifesto, is really strong, and I think
Yeah,
like almost anyone can get behind it. Really, like anyone who lives in
that's
like a
true.
free democratic country probably shares those values. So there's definitely resources
Well,
and
we would
places
hope
that
they
you
do.
can sort of start planting roots for community, even as an atheist, you know, or even if you're like a lot of Unitarian Universalist churches, honestly, can be even good for this kind of thing. If you're like really starving for that in-person regular community thing, like there are definitely ways to
Yeah.
get around it that don't have to have you ending up there's no prescribed goal for you. You know, if you're an atheist and you go, cool. If you end up believing in something and you go, like, as long as you don't become MAGA or conservative, I'm happy to have you do and be whatever is going to make you live your best life.
Yeah, that would not be my best life, though. Yeah,
Cool.
I will say
Yeah.
that. That community is not going to like me that very much. Yeah.
Fair.
I was also wanting to talk about trans stuff, but I think I should call back tomorrow for that, probably, right?
Thursday, not tomorrow, but Thursday. Yeah.
Thursday. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Cool. Yep.
Well, anyways, you guys, that was actually really helpful.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Good.
I'm going to be thinking about that a lot. So, but yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much,
for
Spruce.
calling.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Okay. Well, have a good day. Bye.
Bye.
Have a good one. Bye.
All right. Real quick before we dive into the next calls, I see there's one being screened. We've got one in the queue, which means we probably have time for like one or two more if people still want to call in. But I'm gonna let you guys know about some of the upcoming shows we've got. We've had a killer. The month of August has already been so good. We had Xena on, and then we had a Forrest and Erica super show. Like so good. Tomorrow is going to be Matt Dillahunty and Justin from the Deconstruction Zone on the Hang Up. Thursdays, TACIS at 2 p.m. Central Time will be myself and Dr. Ben. Next Sunday at 2 p.m. will be Durante and Matt Dillahunty. And the late show will be Owen Morgan and Aaron Adair at 7 p.m. Central Time. And I don't think we have Skeptalk worked out for next week yet. That is my goal. Probably tomorrow is going to be my hours are spent on finishing up the schedule. And then it'll be Alyssa back with Taylor here next week. So check that out. Also hit like and subscribe. It's free, helps the channel massively. Like the thing that the algorithm prioritizes most for some reason is when you guys click buttons and shit on the page. So if you're clicking links, if you're clicking the like button, if you're hitting subscribe on a video, that's what the algorithm says. People are liking this. They want to push it out. So it's totally free. If you can't join our Patreon, a way to support us that costs you absolutely nothing. So, yep. All right. Those are those announcements. Oops, I've still got Spruce's banner up here. Yeah, I know we've been kind of like, I feel like a lot of people in the line have been historically very like anti-theist and kind of against all of that. But I don't know, lately, I feel like there's just been a real shift on people being like, we've got priorities, you know, like when we have human rights locked down, like let's debate all day, let's have the petty squabbles. But like right now, is this the most important time to be stressing that like an atheist might want to go to a UU church? I don't know. Oh, you're muted, actually.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I have just never been I've never considered myself anti-theist for a couple of different reasons. But yeah, especially now, like with what you said, where I find myself what's the word? Like working with or finding myself in alliance with a lot of progressive Christians, and that doesn't mean that I or even just theists in general. That doesn't mean I agree with everything. Obviously, like I have my different viewpoints, but yeah, someone believing like I don't know. It just isn't like again, I will like debate about certain things or why I don't believe in God or especially like specifically the Christian God and stuff like that. But I just have never really harped on people in general for like believing in a god or something bigger in general. I just don't really see I don't know. I just don't really see the point.
Yeah, I definitely get what you mean. Like, I think I know I have a frustration with progressive Christians where, like, I went to a very biblically literalist church growing up, and like, it was very,
Yeah,
we got kicked out because I came out as trans when I was like 14 or whatever, like, very
that's
anti-queer. So when
crazy.
I hear, and like, they could point to verses, right? So when I hear sometimes like progressive Christians explain why they're like not anti-gay or whatever, it often sounds to me like when apologists are trying to contort other like metaphorical parts of the Bible to make it
Yeah.
work. Like you're really
No,
twisting to make this make
absolutely.
sense. But
Yep.
also, I'd rather have all the Christians look like you than
Right.
younger
No, exactly.
creationists. So
Yeah, I feel the same exact way. Like I definitely have my opinions on it, but yeah, I definitely feel you on that.
yeah, I have to resist my urge to be like, let me debate why you believe that though. I'm like, no, honestly, right
Right,
now, you're an ally.
right.
I'll take it. Um,
Right.
all right, let's talk next to Nick. Because he has been waiting on the line the longest. So Nick, him from Wisconsin is an atheist who wants to know how to balance being a non-believer while maintaining a relationship with religious family. So Nick, you are live on Chewed Gum with Arden and Taylor. What's going on?
Well, great. It's awesome to talk to both of you, actually. When I signed on, like I told the call screener, I can't remember, but I thought it was going to be Alyssa and Promise, but I'm more than happy to talk to both of you as well. But they have both been a very big part of my deconstruction journey. So
Mhm.
I just wanted to say that, but Arden and Taylor, you have as well. So I just want to let you both know that as well. Okay.
No worries.
Thank
Promise
you.
is my favorite too. I understand.
Okay. No, it's probably the hardest thing I've ever come to terms with, but here we are. So,
Yeah.
but what I wanted to actually talk to you about is I still have a good relationship with my mom. I do not with my brother because he does not want me around my nieces right now because I don't believe in God and he strongly does. And my nieces love me to death. So I'm just wondering, what do I do? What the fuck do I do? Make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is really hard and I heavily relate to that. I have never been, cut off by a family member for not believing in God or like, not been able to talk to my nephews or niece. But I will
Hmm.
say it's like probably um I try not to talk about like too much like about like my family in general because I do love them and I want to respect them. But in general terms, I think it's one of the hardest things that have come out of me deconstructing. Not one of the hardest, the hardest thing that has come out of me deconstructing is trying to maintain relationships with people where their belief in Christianity is their entire identity, essentially. Um,
Yes.
and
And
it's
and, and
hard because like,
actually, can I just preface this with something just
mhm,
a little more? And I don't mean to
yeah,
interrupt you, Taylor. Just but I want to say that you believe what you want to believe. I don't care. They're your kids.
hmm,
I don't care.
right,
I will never try to make your kids believe what I believe ever.
right,
You know, until they're 18. But
hmm.
he thinks I'm going to. So that's where I am right now. Make sense?
Yeah, that is really unfortunate because you obviously, love them and stuff, and they're really going to be missing out on a great person in their life. So it's really unfortunate that they're willing to cut you off just because you believe differently than them. That's actually horrible.
Mhm.
And I
And
just can't imagine
and
how that
that's why
feels.
I'm actually really glad I got joined to this to the line and everything because I mean um, I wish nothing but the best for everybody, everyone I meet, you know.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But I just hate the fact that my nieces can't talk to me right now because I don't believe in an imaginary sky villain. Make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's like also the challenge of kind of like you're saying, you're not trying to force your views on his kids, and you can't really. Like, it's,
Mhm.
uh, I don't always
I don't
necessarily,
want to. Hey, they're his kids. They're not mine. I don't want to
Right.
force anything on anyone. You know?
yeah. I do think, I don't love that we think about it like they're his kids. Like, I understand why we do. It's good. There's a weird, like, kind of ownership vibe that I always get from the way we talk about kids and
Yeah, yeah.
parents'
I'm
relationships.
not saying. I'm
Um,
okay. Okay. Maybe I said it the wrong way,
no, no,
Arden.
no, that
I'm
wasn't a
not trying
criticism
to
of
say
you.
ownership and
That
everything.
that wasn't a criticism of
But
you,
the
Nick.
fact is, they're his responsibility, not
No,
mine.
I understand. That
Okay.
wasn't a criticism of
Okay.
you. That was just a criticism of like how we in America think about the kind of parent-child
Yeah.
relationship in general. Um,
I got you. I completely understand. Yeah.
but I
So.
mean, I think it's one of those things where like community is really the best solution to this. And so I'm glad you're here because like just having other people who have had a similar experiences, and this is just the nature of like being in a marginalized group in the US. Like obviously, atheists don't always intersect on a lot of lines of marginalization, but like no doubt atheists are marginalized in the US, right? Like you're saying your brother has some weird assumption that you're going to try to convert his kids because you're an atheist, and that's so silly. Like, we're
And
perfectly capable of
I
having a
absolutely
respectful
will
relationship.
not. I absolutely will not. I
Yeah.
let them believe what they believe. As they grow.
Hmm.
It's not my business.
Yep.
And
I mean, if they ask
also,
me, I will tell them what I think. But
right.
they're 13 years old right now. It's not my
Right.
business right now.
Yeah.
Also, in my experience, I feel like when parents shield their kids to that extent of like, don't hear any other beliefs or any other whatever,
Hmm.
it ends up not going well usually for like
Hmm.
like what the parents like want them to be. I feel like it typically doesn't work out because they make it so taboo and stuff that it just
Hmm.
typically doesn't have a good outcome. So I just wouldn't be surprised. Like that's just I don't see that going well in the end because eventually they are going to go out in the real world and they're going to meet people who are different than them, hopefully.
Yeah.
So,
No,
Yeah.
no, no.
um,
I completely understand you. Yes. So,
yeah,
anyways, I don't want to give you on this phone call too much. I think we've finished what we wanted to say, but thank you very much for talking to me, and I just really wanted to get this off my chest. Make sense?
yeah.
Yeah. Just well,
Cool.
I'm.
go ahead.
Okay. Well,
I was just.
again,
Oh,
Arden and Taylor, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks for
thanks
calling,
for
Nick.
calling.
We appreciate it. You have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
I'd love to hear what you were gonna say.
I was just gonna basically say again, like that. I was sorry that happened to him because that's like really heartbreaking and like
Mhm.
that's so like, whenever you leave Christianity and stuff with family is like, I just feel like the hardest thing for so many people, and it's like so heartbreaking. And I mean, he obviously like loves his nieces, and it's just heartbreaking to hear that people would just be like, no, you can't be around them because you don't believe like me. That's like so sad. I hate hearing that.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's interesting. I used to be really close to my cousins who were very involved in worship. In fact, one of them currently runs a YouTube channel that's teaching churches how to put on a good worship session in their church, like the tech behind it and all that stuff, which is so interesting. But they've
That
often
is
like
interesting.
tried to keep me away from their kids as we've gotten older, as like we don't want you to convert our kids or let them know that gay is okay or anything like that, you know? And
That's so ridiculous.
it's so wild when you grew up with these people, you have a close relationship with them, and then they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
And
you're
yeah.
one of those kinds of people? Oh my God, now I think all these things about you." And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and it's like that you expect them to be like you wanna be like, "You know me." Like, you like, "What?" Like, "You know me, and you know I'm not a terrible person, so why are you doing this?" It's so weird, and like I said before, I just feel like it doesn't usually end up how they want it to end up with how much they try and, like, shield their kids from anybody who's different than them. It typically never goes the way they want it to, so yeah,
Yeah, no, I
it
completely
just won't work
agree.
out.
That's how you get kids who are resentful, who like cut you off
Yep,
because they're like, oh, I know, like, I can't trust my dad because he's going to try to like
right,
keep information from me for like his
right,
baggage. Like, that's,
right, absolutely.
yeah, they're either going to be entrenched or they're going to probably have an issue.
Yep.
Well, we still have some open lines. I think we could probably take at least like one more caller, maybe two. We're only about an hour in, so I don't want to like close the lines off yet. But I mean, if we get through the calls, we'll just go to super chats, I guess. Um, but next caller up is Paul. He, him from Colorado is another atheist who says, is it possible to make a hard science out of morality? So, Paul, you are live on Chewed Gum with Arden and Taylor. What's going on?
Hi, yes. So I've written a book about making a science of morality, and I host a roundtable every month. And one of my problems is finding people that are skilled at critical thought. So I figured I'd call in and run some of the topics by you guys, or just one topic probably tonight, and see what you thought, and get some feedback on my ideas about making a science of morality and using evidence to determine right from wrong, or good from evil, if you prefer that terminology.
Yeah,
Sure.
go for it.
Okay. So, in the book, I discussed, for instance, we could start with how you would demonstrate, for instance, that we have a right to bodily autonomy. And in the book, I talk about how we use the definitions of biological life. So, like the fact that we have to breathe, we have certain facts of our physiology, human physiology, and it requires that you would sort of redefine the word right, human right. And I guess I don't know how you guys define human right now. Is that worth covering before I get into this? Or,
I mean,
do you guys want
yeah,
to say
I think
what you...
it would depend on the context, I guess you mean it in. Like, in my view, rights are something that are given to you by a state. Like, I wouldn't believe in like personally in like a universal human right. Like, I value human rights, but I wouldn't say that I believe in a universal human right. Like, rights as you're describing them, from what I can tell, and correct me if I'm wrong, in that context, I would
Totally.
say that's only something that can be granted by a state.
Okay, so, yeah, and I guess I would just push back against that, because what if the state doesn't grant you those rights? Such as the case with people, women and
Yeah,
I
they
mean, women
don't
aren't even in the United
often.
States Constitution, except for to say that they can vote. And that was only after, like, however many years. But anyway, sorry.
Well,
I think, though, that can be... Go ahead,
just to
please.
respond, I would say, yeah, they often don't grant rights to people who deserve rights. And that has an issue with my moral system, because I would like consider myself humanist. Like, my moral system is rooted in well-being of people. And so like I would say that I object to when states don't give rights to people, because I think they ought to. I think it's good for us under a like humanist moral system, moral framework. But um, I mean, I just feel like it's a fact of reality that sometimes states are unjust and they don't treat people equally or well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think that's part of why I wrote the book, is because I'm looking for a way to demonstrate that you do, in fact, have human rights, and something that you could, if the state were ever to call that into question, you could actually stand in line or whatever and demonstrate that fact that you have them. So let me get to the, real quick, let me just see if I can give you the gist of it. So I think we would agree, all of us on the call, that you're a Homo sapiens, and that everybody's Homo sapiens, and that science can demonstrate that we have certain physiological facts as they relate to Homo sapiens. So for instance, you have to breathe. And because I'm making a science out of what used to be more of a concept, like you were saying, the state grants it to us, so that's more conceptual in nature, the idea of a human right. But because I'm making a science, I have to define human rights as something that's falsifiable and demonstrable. And so I would do that by saying, essentially, and it relates to morality, because if you breathe freely and you have clean air, you will thrive, you will flourish. If that air is polluted, or somebody is strangling you, let's say, or somebody is smothering you, you will suffer, and eventually you'll die. And it doesn't really matter what your opinion is, or how you were raised, or your religious background, or it really doesn't matter anything about you. You're Homo sapiens. Those are just facts of your physiology. And so you must breathe. And the fact that you do breathe isn't even a choice. It's something that evolved into you, into all of us, over the millennia. So we don't even get to choose not to breathe. That's just part of what we are. And so I would put it to you that a human right is something that which we must do. We have no other choice. And we can demonstrate that we must do this through science, hard sciences like biology and physiology and so on. So let me just pause there and see what kind of feedback you might have.
Well, I don't want to monopolize. I will tell you off the jump, I'm not sure that I agree with the premise, but I do want to hear you flesh out the argument and kind of dig into it. So I don't want to derail you too much from making your case.
No, you're not. I made the gist of my case. Like, in order to demonstrate and make a science of morality, certain concepts have to be made scientific, right? So I have to redefine human rights as something we can demonstrate and something that's based in falsifiable science, so we can hypothesize about it. So, for instance, that's why I chose your breathing. There are other things I could say. You eat, you sleep, you drink. Right, water.
So on
There
this
are a bunch
basis,
of
then,
facts of your human physiology that if we ensure your ability to do those things, you'll thrive. But if we in any way try to hinder those things, you'll immediately suffer and eventually die. But go ahead, please.
I guess I do want Taylor to get in here, so I just want to give this one thought, and then I'll pass it off. I guess my problem is, like, the difference is that you, like, biologically have to breathe to survive, whereas biologically you don't need human rights to survive. Humans have historically lived under horrible, awful conditions for generations and generations. There's slavery across so many different cultures for so much of human history. Like, I want human rights, and I think that people should value human rights, but I believe morality is subjective, and, like, the goals that we ascribe to morality are subjective. I don't think that it's demonstrable that human rights is something we must do. I think countries and nations have shown us time and time again that they're more than happy to operate without proper human rights given to their people. So it just seems to me like it's like just a fact that injustice and lack of human rights exists. But Taylor, did you want to get in on this? You have some thoughts?
My thoughts are pretty similar to yours, where I just don't see it. Like, I feel like I would have to believe in some kind of higher power or order to say that, like, there are human rights outside of kind of like what we decide them to be, or like what they end up being from, like, our government or who we're ruled over. I'm not doing a very good a job at explaining this, but I guess I just because I think like human rights in general are always going to be subjective too in different ways. Like what sometimes what someone considers a right might not be like considered a right to somebody else. And those things have evolved over time as well. So that's just kind of where I'm at currently. I have heard of I think it was like Alex O'Connor making arguments towards why objective morality exists like outside of religion. I just don't know if I'm convinced of that. I don't think right now I am from hearing the arguments I've heard so far, but yeah, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
Sure. Well, and just to be clear, I understand what you guys are saying as far as that is a very good description and apt of how people think of human rights now and how we've thought about them in the past. For instance, you can take them away, you can grant them. A lot of people believe that they have different rights, just like you were saying. But if we have to make a science of it, or if we're going to make a science of it, and I argue this in the book, and maybe I'm not being quite as eloquent as I could be now, but we have to take human rights, the idea, the concept, and we have to make a science of it. So that means it has to be something and defined in such a way that it can be demonstrable.
Can I ask you a clarifying question real quick?
Yeah, please.
When you're saying we have to make a science of it, can you help me understand what science means to you in that context?
Something that's falsifiable, verifiable, reproducible, something that is subject to peer review, and then also something that would be has predictive power. We can model based on it. So we can make models and then...
So how would you... so the problem though is like when you're saying that human rights is something we must do, like you're saying that earlier, it's like breathing, it's just something we must do. Like I feel like that's very easily falsified, not just falsifiable, but has been falsified. Like we clearly don't. So how to phrase that? It's not clear to me that we must do human rights. Like that's kind of the point I'm getting at.
No, I understand. I think I misspoke earlier. It isn't something we must do. I mean, demonstrably, clearly, people don't do it, and we're not doing it. So we're getting along fairly well. I argue in the book though that we ought to, that we should convert our moral thinking into a scientific process so that we can determine right from wrong based on evidence, and that we can also use similar evidence to demonstrate, for instance, that you have a right to bodily autonomy, and so do I. So, for instance, just to try to help clarify. So, but I agree. The way I said it and the way you said it back to me, no, we don't have to do this, but it might be a good idea for us to do this and make a science where there isn't one currently.
So I would agree that it would be good for us to do. Like my view of morality is that like things are good and bad with respect to an objective, right? Like, so because I have the framework, my moral framework is well-being of humans and like well-being of sentient things generally, but I definitely am a bit of a speciesist prioritizing humans in this context, I guess you could say, like, because I'm like not a vegan or anything. But like, I think I can make objective assessments about morality in a sort of pseudoscientific way once I've arbitrarily decided what my objective is. But the problem is like, I don't think there's anything you can root that objective in that I should say that goal. So I'm not being redundant with my words here. I don't think there's anything you can root that goal in that is objective. Like, I think it is like definitely humans on average seem to agree that we don't like harming each other, right? We have mirror neurons. We kind of experience sympathetic pain. Like we know that, I don't want things to be stolen from me, so I'm not going to steal from other people. And like, if I help the least among us, they could be somebody who grows up to cure cancer, which could like save my life, things like that. But like some people are evil and bad, and they are willing to watch children starve. They're willing to enforce children starving. They're willing to bomb those starving children. Like, clearly we don't all agree on the goal. So I think it's pretty hard to make objective or anything approaching scientific assessments if we don't agree on the goal. And so I tend to focus my energy on like thinking like, let's convince people that we should all be united in this goal of like the well-being of all people. Um, I'm not sure that you can get to any kind of scientific or objective assessment. And I don't know that science is the right word to use in this context. I don't think I would use that word. But I don't think you could come to those kind of assessments unless you have agreed on some sort of goal.
Well, and I understand that's a, pardon me, that's a very Matt Dillahuntian way of assessing morality, at least in my experience with watching him and the show and everything. And I agree, and I have agreed. It just always rubbed me the wrong way that just because somebody doesn't agree, for instance, you were talking about starving children, just because somebody doesn't agree that starving children is immoral, that doesn't mean that starving children is now moral, that they have their own morality. And I would just say that it, based on the science in the book and so on, I would just say that we can demonstrate that starving children causes suffering and death, and we can demonstrate that scientifically. We can also demonstrate that feeding children and nurturing children and loving children and providing them with clean water and clean air and so on is morally good. It's a good thing to do, and it causes flourishing and thriving. And we can also demonstrate that with science and evidence. And so, for instance, I could build a model that would reliably predict how much suffering and how long it would take for a child to die if I were to starve them. I could do the same with providing them with nutritious calories and a loving, nurturing home. I could predict how well they would thrive. And those predictions and that evidence, all that accumulation of that information, that's all very scientific.
Here's the problem. This is like the is-ought distinction. Sorry, it looks like Taylor's going to jump in. I'll finish this one sentence, then I'll pass it off to you. I think it feels like we're at an is-ought distinction. Like, I agree, we can demonstrate that starving children is going to like harm them. I can agree that we can demonstrate like how long it takes being starved for them to like die, and that, there's ways we can nurture kids that lead to the best outcomes. These are all demonstrable facts. But how we get to then an ought, like a moral ought, I think that is not justified on the facts of the matter. But Taylor, you look like you were ready to jump in and say something too.
I was basically going to say the same exact thing where, you can demonstrate all of that, but when, like, you can't, like, it matters if people care about it, or if that's something people even value in the first place. And I agree that it's like almost like the closest objective we can get with a morality is like proving something causes harm, but that doesn't mean anything if people don't care about the harm, or they care about something more importantly. I don't know, stuff like that. So I do understand what you're saying, but I think it's about the fact that um everyone would have to value the empathy that comes with that, or everybody would have to be concerned with stuff like that, and not everybody is. And some people would say other things are more important. Some people would say, I don't care if it doesn't impact me, like stuff like that.
And I think before I want you to respond, Paul, the only thing I want to tag on to that also is like, I think there's a problem when we assume that there has to be some sort of objective, like moral framework, or like there has to be justice that is served. Like, it reminds me a lot of, I had this Christian friend in high school who found out I was an atheist like maybe 5 or more years ago, and called me, and we had this whole discussion, and she was talking about a friend of hers who was assaulted, and she was like, I just really have to believe that justice is going to be served at some point. And like, in my view, like, this is similar in the sense that it's sort of like abdicating like the obligation that we should have, if that is something we value, well-being, children not starving, to convince people that they should be on the same page as us about this framework. Like, it says like, it feels like it kind of abdicates the responsibility to convince them, and just says, no, it is this way. And they can say, well, it's not for me. I'm going to keep starving the kids. And then like what happens then? Like, whereas if we actually acknowledge that like it's subjective, the frameworks, we can then do our best to try to convince them that like our framework is superior. Obviously, a lot of world leaders don't give a fuck. They're all willing to cash in on the starving of children if it makes them a buck. But like, I fear that it results in some sort of like laziness or abdication on our part to convince people of this superior moral framework. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I'm just taking notes.
Nice.
It's interesting that you're worried about convincing people. Wouldn't we? And I'm going to try to work in reverse chronological order. So what you guys said, there was a lot there, and we don't have to get to every point. But is odd is one I wouldn't mind touching on. But it's interesting that you're suggesting that it would be more difficult to convince somebody absent of objective evidence. So let's say you've got this person who believes that starving children is the right path. How are you to convince them that they're wrong unless you use the evidence that their actions produce? That would be the starving children. That would be the malnourishment, the lowered brain function. You could take neurological evidence, you could take physiological evidence. You'd gather that evidence with psychologists and psychiatrists and doctors and
But
other
all of
scientists.
that is evidence
And-
of the harm framework. All of that is evidence to say that you should be caring about harm and well-being for those reasons. But I don't think those reasons are the objective, the evidence of the morale, or like, it's almost like you're saying the same thing, but there's like an extra layer there. And it's actually tripping me up now. Like I think the fact that kids are starving and sorry, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No. It's okay. Why don't you finish, and then I'll try to reiterate what I was saying. I just don't want to lose the fact here that I think that our best bet to convince what you're describing an evil, immoral person that they shouldn't behave that way is the evidence that their behavior produces. So they starve children, and it produces all this evidence of death and misery. We can, and I think we should, as let's just say we're moral scientists. As moral scientists, we should use that evidence to try to go to them and appeal to their humanity and say, please stop doing this. Look at all the suffering it's causing. It's immoral because it's producing this evidence in the world, evidence that is clear of malnourishment and so on. No, I think you're getting tripped up on is odd, but please go ahead.
Well, you just said like, oh, it's immoral because of the evidence that it produces in the world, but I would say it's immoral because it is causing harm to living beings, and you should care about that for all those reasons. Like, I'm not saying that we should not use the evidences that you're talking about. I'm just saying I don't think the value we place on them is objective in any way. I think it's completely subjective. But I agree that probably even like most people in most developed nations seem to share like 85 to 90% of our like moral framework. Yeah, I think there's a lot of large agreement. But like, it's clear that there's not complete agreement, because if there was, then there wouldn't be a genocide happening in Palestine right now. And our government leaders would have, even if there was, our leaders would have stopped giving arms to Israel, like after like the first month, or faster even, it's I think this is kind of where the Izot thing is coming. Like, I don't disagree with you that these facts exist and that they have these outcomes and that should be concerning. But I think it's that should be concerning part is where it gets, that's not scientific. That's just, does it concern you as an individual? And like, there's not really anything we can do then to make like, I think a philosophical case, like you should care, because if you don't start caring, these kids are going to die. And I think that would be really sad if those kids die. Like, they had just as much of a right to a chance at life as any kid within the walls of Israel does, right? So, yeah.
I guess I miss your point. I feel like we have a little bit of a difference, but without much of a distinction, or maybe the other way around.
I think it's
like
the layer of calling it
100%.
Science is what I'm having a hard time with. I think that's where, like, I do think you're right. We're almost completely in agreement, but like, you're trying to call it a science and objective, and that's why I'm not able to meet you. Like, I agree with you on all the facts
No, I
of the
understand.
matter.
Let me see if I can address that, and please do let me know if I'm trespassing on your time or somebody else's time for another call. I don't want to be overly, rambunctious here, but the ISOT problem, in my estimation, David Hume and so on, I think he was just incorrect. I mean, I can demonstrate that this bad behavior, this hypothetical bad behavior, and we don't really need to speak of hypothetics. We could actually talk about real immoral behavior right now in the world, as you referred to, a war. But this hypothetical where we're starving children, I can demonstrate that behavior causes suffering, and I can use that evidence to then draw a direct line, logically, syllogistically, to that's immoral.
Yes, but then how do you get them to say
that's why it's immoral?
But then how do you get them to say, I agree, I'm convinced, I care, now I'm going to do something about it? Like, it's, again, we can demonstrate the behavior, we can demonstrate the causes, we can demonstrate the outcomes, we can demonstrate how good things has good predictive outcomes. But how you get someone to say, based on that information, I agree, I'm going to start operating my life on the principle of not doing harm to other people is like, that is a subjective feeling that you have to have. Like, there are just some people who like, I don't know. Like, I am completely on, like, I disagree with you that,
I feel like
like,
we're in the same situation even without the evidence, though. Like, how do you get a bad person to stop being bad? I mean, the objective evidence demonstrates to us, though, that bad people are bad because they had certain brain development that was out of their control. Perhaps they were then abused, or they were raised in a situation. Maybe they were raised in a war, and they have a bad toolkit. They have a bad toolbox.
yeah, there can be
that
any.
we are going to convince everybody, but that doesn't mean that the science can't go on demonstrating that this behavior is immoral and that we shouldn't do it, or that we shouldn't promote it in society because it causes harm and suffering. I mean, I know you're aware of flat earthers. There are people that you can demonstrate the earth is a sphere and they still go, well, I don't buy that. I'm not sure that should derail the idea that we can do a science and do morality scientifically, is all I'm saying. I do agree with you that there are people that are not going to buy this. But the ISOT issue, I don't know, maybe that's beyond the scope of this conversation. But I don't know, I just was hoping to get your guys' feedback, which I feel like I've gotten. So, Arden, I feel like you've monopolized. Is there anything else to say?
I want to definitely hear more from Taylor.
No offense, Arden.
I like wish I had something new to say, but I just keep thinking like what we've been kind of saying the whole time is like you can't really force people to, like, you can give them the evidence, you can show them this causes objective harm, this objectively hurts people, but if they say, well, my morality runs on, let's say, like, hedonism, where they think that the moral thing to do is whatever brings most pleasure in general. So what if them starving kids, they believe that brings them more pleasure, the end result brings them more pleasure than the pain it costs those starving kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I do understand
That's
what you're
how
saying.
some
I just
people
don't
operate.
understand how. No, I understand that. I'm not going to argue that there are not moral people, or sorry, that there are not immoral people. I fully understand that there are people, but let's say you're trying to figure out what kind of morality you should have, and you've got all these different options to choose from. How do you then pick which is the correct option? This science that I'm describing here helps you with that. You can assess evidence, and let's take your theoretical or
It would depend on my
hypothetical hedonist.
priorities, though.
Well, sure, but the fact that you can look at this hedonist and see that their lifestyle causes suffering in the world, and there's
Mhm.
evidence of that suffering that you can assess that could help you adjust your priorities, or that could help guide you in the same way that science helps guides us to sound and reasonable conclusions
Not
on other topics.
not if I don't care about them.
Yes.
Well, I understand what you're saying. What I don't get though is why does the science care? If let's just say I've made that my book, whatever, it becomes successful, and then people start doing a science of morality. Why would the science care if you are immoral? And I'm sorry, I'm saying you. I don't mean you literally, but why would the science care that there are people that are immoral? Isn't it up to the science to figure out how we identify who those folks are and minimize their impact on society, as opposed to throwing our hands up and saying, we can't make a science of this. We can't come to sound moral conclusions because people exist who would disagree with us. I'm
Well,
sorry, that was a question.
So, I mean, I think science has, in a sense, been contending with this because, I mean, science used in this term is really just kind of philosophy, and philosophy has been contending with this in this way for a very long time, like with, ethics and morality. And I don't know, I
Sure.
guess I'm really hung up on, like, I don't know what you think this adds to the understanding of morality because, like, at the end of the day, again, yes, we can talk about. I'm reiterating myself. So this is probably I want to give you a last word after this because I think we're just kind of on a merry-go-round right now. But like again, we can
No,
agree
it's
on
okay.
all the facts. Like doing this makes people's lives, it makes their self-report of their lives worse, and doing Y leads to these outcomes that people generally don't like, and doing Z generally leads to outcomes that are good for people. Therefore, if you want people to do well, you should do this, but that still rests on the thing if you want people to do well. And if somebody just doesn't want people to do well, and as we've seen, there are many people, particularly leaders in nation states, who don't really care if people do well or not, then it doesn't really matter. I mean, like, it's just like, again, I agree with you on the fact that we can come to these objective assessments once we have the agreement on the framework. But without the agreement on the framework, it's dead in the water. I mean, it doesn't change anything.
Yeah, I understand. Was there, sorry, Taylor, right? Taylor, did you have final words?
I really wish I could think of like something new that I haven't said, but I feel like that's
No, it's
just like
okay.
kind of where it ends for me, unfortunately, is like,
Yeah.
yeah, just what I said the past couple times.
I guess all I would say to that is I don't know how else. I guess we're in the same boat we've always been in that we're not doing a science of morality in the way I'm suggesting. But we also aren't able to convert people from their wrongdoing and from their immoral positions anyway. And so I guess the only thing I would say is, what does it hurt to collect the evidence and make the case based on evidence, as opposed to assuming that morality is all subjective? I mean, the morality that I propose in the book has a subjective element. There's a very important aspect of humanity in that they have a subjective experience, and it's one that we need to gather as evidence to understand what it is that people want, and how they want to be treated, and what causes them to suffer and what causes them to flourish, and their feelings and hopes on that matter. And that's scientific evidence that we would gather as well. But I guess being able to demonstrate harm based on an action seems really powerful to me, and that's why I wanted to propose it in the book.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing
I
the one
think
thing I can say is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I agree that like demonstrating things cause objective harm is a good thing and like should be, talked about and or advocated or whatever. Um, I agree that that stuff is extremely useful. I just don't think it changes the fact that morality is just like entirely subjective. But I do think obviously presenting that information to people could change their mind if they value something like empathy or how their actions impact other people.
Yeah, I hope.
Yeah.
I guess one yeah, that was my goal with the book. One last thing I would just say is it sounds like there is a little bit of a question of, so how does this benefit me, or how does this benefit you, I guess, or humanity? There are an awful lot of immoral people in the world, and they're doing a lot of harm. One of the things I talk about in the book is codifying our biology, our morphology, our cladograms, our definitions of what we are, Homo sapiens, in our legal and founding documents, and building a suite of rights based on the fact that we're Homo sapiens, and that we can demonstrate that. You could do a cheek swab and demonstrate using your genetics that you're a Homo sapien. So when somebody tries to take away your right and says, well, you can't get married or whatever because of the Bible, or you can't do this because of some other belief, or I have a subjective morality and I don't believe that you're human, or I don't believe in your rights or whatever, you could actually go to the courthouse or wherever and provide this swab of your cheek and say, no, look, the genetics demonstrates I'm Homo sapiens. And this Constitution of this United States is for Homo sapiens. It says so right in the document. All that hard science and using those definitions codifies that fact.
I hate to commandeer your last thought, Paul. I hate to commandeer your last thought, but I think this brings us right back to the beginning of the call, the very beginning of the call, where you're saying, oh, based on this framework, we could build constitutions based on this, and you could go to court. But yes, that's still a state, a nation state, granting you the human right based on a constitution. I love the idea. Oh. Let's do constitutions based on humanism and based on that value science and well-being of people. All great ideas. But again, I just don't think it makes the morality like objective or scientific. I think it just like it sounds like a better way to me to construct a society, but that's a completely subjective thing. So I'm sorry, we're gonna have to move on, but I do appreciate this call, and it was interesting. I don't know if you've moved us at all on this position, but I definitely welcome the conversation, and yeah, thanks for calling in.
And thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Paul. Bye.
I felt bad interrupting, but as soon as he was like, oh, the Constitution and the judge, and I'm like, and we're back to states giving you rights, because if it's like an objective science thing, then they just come from humanity itself, not any organized state giving it to you.
Yeah, no, exactly. I felt bad that I felt anytime I said something, I just repeated myself. But like, that's all I could really give. I feel, but like, again, yeah, you can prove things, like things cause objective pain, but that doesn't mean that the morality itself is objective,
Yeah. All right. We do have one more caller on the line before we move on to Super Chats tonight. So Super Chats of $5 or more, we will read out live. You can make us say all kinds of crazy shit, whatever your little heart desires, as long as you have $5. But we're going to talk to Amir in the UK. Pronouns are he, him, is an agnostic theist. He says, given what we know, God is the best explanation as to why anything at all exists. So, Amir, you are live with Arden and Taylor. What's going on?
Hey, Arden. Hey, Taylor. Yeah, thank you for having me on. And Taylor, I know we spoke last week.
Yeah.
So since then, I've taken some time to brush up on my theology and reread some of the classical arguments and reflect more deeply. And I still believe in God, but I'm honest enough to admit that the theory isn't without its challenges. But when I look at the options for why there's something rather than nothing, brute facts or infinite regress, quantum fluctuations, or whatever it is, none of them are compelling. And I still admit, the God hypothesis, it still has its own challenges. But when compared to the alternatives, it strikes me as the most coherent and far-reaching explanation that we currently have. I mean, I don't claim it answers everything. I just think it opens the door to deeper meaning, better than anything else on the table. So yeah, just to kick things off, I wanted to ask you both. Given what we know, do you both agree or disagree that God is the best explanation for why anything at all exists?
Definitely
Disagree.
disagree.
Okay, then you're both saying that something other than God is a better explanation. What is that
Mhm.
explanation, and why is it better? I mean, I'm happy to defend my view, but I guess now the ball is in your court.
So
Um,
you go first. Sorry, I talked
yeah.
like all last call.
I was just gonna say it, like, j- I don't claim. I'm gonna say what I said last time. Last time you called in, I don't claim to have those answers. I do think there is probably a better explanation out there. That doesn't mean I know it. But I'm not just because I don't know it. I just don't think that leads to me saying God is the best explanation. That's just not how my brain operates, and it never has like operated that way. So, can I give you a better answer than God? I don't think I just don't think saying God makes sense in my mind. I think me saying I don't know makes more sense to me than saying God. It's more honest to me. It's more, it might not be satisfying to some people, but I don't need to fill in the blank. So I'm okay with saying I'm not sure what that is. That's just where I'm at.
I feel like
Can I?
or-
Sorry, go on, Arden.
it's okay. I don't have a lot to add on to that. I was just gonna say I feel like just on Occam's razor, like I could say like I like so the question was, do we disagree that God is the best solution to why there's something rather than nothing? And I said disagree, mostly because I'm like, I feel like you can just Occam's razor God out of it and just have like an eternal universe or a universe that just started. Like I don't have to posit or know why that is to say that like God seems like an unnecessary entity in the question.
I mean, just to reinstate what the question was, and I was very, I guess, delicate with the wording. It's given what we know, do you both agree or disagree that God is the best explanation for why anything at all exists? So when Taylor, you mentioned, I don't know of other options, etc. That therefore would add credence to the fact that God is the best explanation. Now, in all of this, even if we concede just for a second that God is the best explanation, you may not think it's a good explanation, but it's still the best explanation that we have. So, in fact, to say that God is the best explanation that we have for why anything at all exists is, in fact, a statement that can be issued by an atheist. Do you see the point that I'm getting there? Do you agree? Do you agree that the statement, rather?
Well,
Yeah. I could say that in my mind, saying that the universe or something has always existed would be just as good of a thing to me as just saying God. Like there's no difference to me because like I don't know about either one. So like it just like I don't really think God's the best answer because you could put anything else in that spot and be like sure. Like you could say something other than God, some kind of higher power that isn't even a god or I don't know, or laws of the universe, something. And I would just say, okay, like that's just kind of where I'm at with it. I think God is just God is just something like our human minds came up with. That doesn't really mean much to me. Like and no, I just don't agree with the fact that as an atheist you could say, sure, like people could say that if they wanted to, but I wouldn't personally say that that's the best answer.
You posited there, Taylor, you posited that, it could be the possibility that the universe has always existed. When you say that, are you claiming that it's more likely that the universe has always existed, or it's less likely, or it has an equal footing to the God hypothesis?
I don't think we have any way of knowing the likelihood of any of those outcomes.
So if we don't know what the outcomes would be of any of those options, then how can we say, or how could you both say that God is the worst of these explanations from what we do know?
Well, to be clear, we didn't say it's the worst. I said it's not the best. And like I said, because of Occam's razor, like it's an unnecessary entity in the explanation. Like without knowing anything, without knowing what the likelihoods are, adding an unnecessary entity in there, I can already just logically say that like that's probably less likely than an explanation that doesn't include that entity unnecessarily.
Okay, so you're saying that it's not the best explanation that we have because it goes against Occam's razor. Is that correct?
Not exactly, but kind of.
You
I'm
see,
trying to think of how I can
'cause look,
rephrase it to make it more clear.
go
Go
for it.
ahead.
Take your time.
No. You can respond. I'll think.
Well,
I don't want dead air.
You see, look, if we just go down the route of Occam's razor, which I do actually think is irrelevant, but I think it's an interesting point to touch on nonetheless. A theist might respond to the other the parsimony of Occam's razor. Say, it's I guess it's the ultimate simplicity of the creator. So the creator is conceived as a necessary, uncaused, and simple entity, and it's fundamentally different from the contingent, complex universe. So, as a timeless, immaterial being, God does not require an explanation of origin, unlike the contingent universe or the multiverse. So, in that sense, Occam's razor can go both ways depending on how you approach it, and then I guess it just becomes a question of
No, that's not how Occam's razor works. Occam's razor is about not multiplying entities unnecessarily, and so like my whole point is that necessarily adding an extra when we don't have any reason to know of any of the reasons that there is something rather than nothing, and it could have been just naturally it just happened and we don't know exactly why. Adding God onto that is adding an entity unnecessarily. So like there's no amount of simplicity to the God or how powerful the God could be that would absolve it from the problem of being an unnecessary entity in the possible, to things the possible explanations that there could be. At least based on the way you've described it.
I mean, fair point. Just 2 points to that as well. Like, you see, the first thing is that naturalism, it gives us the tools to explain what happens within the universe, but it can't account for why the universe or the natural order exists at all. It's, I don't know, it's like naturalism is almost like being stuck inside a video game and insisting the game created itself while ignoring the existence of a programmer. And again, in all of this, I have to make the point that the God hypothesis doesn't then come without its own challenges and merits. It's just trying to make an observation that irrespective of what denomination we fall under, whether we're naturalists or supernaturalists, at the end of the road, we're going to be facing some sort of absurdity in why anything at all exists. And I think that God is a better explanation as to why anything at all exists. Again, you don't have to be necessarily committed to the view that it's a good explanation, but just a better explanation is over the alternatives that we do have right now.
I actually think that something like what I said earlier, like let's say the universe always existed or something, that would actually make more sense to me because in my mind, if there was a God, why on earth would he not show himself at all? Why would we not have any proof that he's real? Why like all of these things, you know what I mean? Like there's not anything proving that he's real. That seems like very unlikely to me, and even less likely than the universe always existing or some other explanation.
I think you get into like a turtles all the way down situation where it's like, also, why is God not subject to all of these same questions? Also, you said naturalism can't explain itself, and I don't know that you can say that either. Like, I would agree that as of right now, naturalism can't necessarily explain why there's something rather than nothing, but I don't know that it's always going to be that case. Like, we might have some revolutionary, discovery in theoretical physics that could actually be a breakthrough in understanding exactly why the rapid expansion started when it did and could give us some information about, well, I was going to say before the Big Bang, but I don't think that is really a coherent phrase. Like before time doesn't make sense.
Sure. I mean, all of the scientific models that we do have in theories, they'll still never be able to address the question as to why anything at all exists. I mean,
How do you know
string
that
theory,
though? You say they'll never be able to. How do you know that?
Well, I mean, my question to you then, Arden, would be, what explanation can you think of or even fathom that could let's just grant for a second that
My
any one of these
incredulity
theories
is irrelevant though. But the fact that I might not be able to think of something doesn't mean that naturalism or science won't be able to come up with an explanation in the future. My incredulity is irrelevant.
The fact that we can't even fathom an explanation would add credence to the fact that an explanation can't even be issued. I mean, look, there's no theory that we have that's on the table right now, string theory, quantum gravity, that can explain why anything at all exists. Even if you grant it as being true, if we just said that string theory was true for a second, it still doesn't explain why anything at all exists. If we grant that the multiverse theory is true, it still doesn't address why anything at all exists. If anything, it just pushes the question back further. I mean, the point of so what is that, again, it's just coming back to the original point. Given what we know, I believe that God is the best explanation as to why anything at all exists.
And we disagree. There needs to be music, like we're at a playground on a merry-go-round, and we got a revolution. There, we got one way all the way around.
Do you at least see why people like myself, even with these ongoing dialogues that we do have, still remain unconvinced to why naturalism might be a superior explanation as to why anything at all exists?
I think that people just don't like not knowing things, and I think they rather put I think they rather just come up with an answer than just be uncomfortable, or then be uncomfortable in this space of I don't know. I also want to say I cannot remember if Alyssa said this last time or if I had this conversation before. I can't remember, but I've had this conversation in the past where there's so many things that in our history, medical mysteries, whatever it might have been, or stuff about the body we didn't understand, or germs or whatever, where we always attributed these things to supernatural elements or God or whatever it was. And every single time we discovered it was something else. Every single time we discovered it was something from the natural world. Every single time. So with that track record, don't you think that there's a high possibility that this ends up being the same?
No, because with the example that you've given, with say, back in the days when someone had an illness and they attributed that to some supernatural thing, you could still fathom an explanation as to what it could be. That's not.
And Taylor and I
couldn't.
But also Taylor and I have posited natural explanations for what the start of everything could be. So
But you haven't posited any explanations. You said that in the future there could be a possibility. So in fact, that's
we've posited things. The fact that I don't subscribe to them doesn't mean we didn't. There could be any number of natural explanations for why there's something rather than nothing. There's the expanding, contracting universe theories. I know Aaron Adair, our physicist on the channel, has mentioned something about some tunneling particle that might be responsible for the expand. There's so many explanations we could posit, that are natural.
Could we just take one of those, Arden, take your pick and tell me how that particular theory explains why anything at all exists? Say the
I couldn't. I'm not a physicist. Okay. I couldn't tell you that.
So therefore, you have faith in certain scientists that are making that claim on your behalf.
No.
Is that correct?
No.
Not that. You don't have faith.
Well, it would depend how you define faith. Sorry, this particular bothers the shit out of me. This faith conflation thing. Faith has two definitions in common parlance. One is confidence, and the other is belief in things unseen, as that's the biblical definition of faith, right? My faith, as you put it in science, is confidence. But I don't have confidence in the scientists. I have confidence in the methods, the data-driven methods that show, with this p-value and these data, the likelihood of this outcome being what the data indicated is 95.5% odds, right? That's what my confidence is in. It's in statistical data. you just like randomly being like, what if like God kicked it off, yo? That's not the same thing. That is belief in something you have no reason to believe, as opposed to like belief in the fact that scientists are doing good science.
I mean, I'm not discrediting the fact that scientists are doing good science, but they are observing and they are making certain theories about things that happen within the
But it's
natural
not
world and
faith.
what we're trying to explain.
Not in the way that you meant it.
So, I mean, I'm happy to say that you have confidence in the scientists, and I don't want that to then, go down the route of semantics. So you have confidence in the scientists. Do you have confidence in the scientists that are also theists as well? Bear in mind, there is still a large cohort of scientists who believe in God. Do you have confidence in what they say, or is it only the atheist scientists that you have confidence in? And if so, why are you selecting the atheist scientists?
Again, I don't have confidence in scientists. I have confidence in the science they're doing. Sorry, Taylor, you're trying to get in. I'm being annoying.
Oh no, it's fine. It doesn't matter if a scientist believes in God and they can still prove something scientifically. I don't care if they believe in God. Like there's many reasons why somebody would still believe in God and be a scientist or whatever. That just doesn't matter, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, these arguments, though, over why anything at all exists are not necessarily scientific arguments to have, because we're now trying to put a hypothesis under scrutiny where that hypothesis is in God is not bound by naturalism. It transcends naturalism. It transcends the natural laws. So to reduce it down to science, I think in itself is nonsensical. But the point that I'm trying to make is that you have confidence in the scientific method, and some scientists are trying to appeal to a universe that has no transcendent cause for its origins or its explanation. What I'm trying to understand there is, if you have trust in the scientific method, which in itself is in dispute between scientists that could be God believers and those that reject God's existence, then why are you selecting those that are giving us a one-sided view of the scientific method when it comes to the origins of reality and why anything at all exists?
That was wild. I'm not doing any of those things, and I don't know why you want to try to paint us as being biased towards only atheist conclusions in science. When scientists are able to demonstrate with some kind of like actual evidence that it is more reasonable to believe in God, I bet you every single person who works on this channel will accept that information. But so far, all you have is speculation and adding an unnecessary entity onto an explanation for just because you feel like it. So, like, I don't know what to do with that.
I mean, I agree that scientists will never be able to demonstrate that a God exists because, again,
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I would never say science will never. You'll never hear me say, here, this is the only time you'll hear me make a you'll never statement. You'll never hear me say science will never, facts will never, naturalism will never, because I can't see the future. Like, I'm always going to leave out room for the fact that I can be wrong, that data can be overturned with better data. I'm not going to make it's like a straw man. You want me to be saying like God can never be proven by science, and that's not something that I would say.
That's something that I would say, and I would say that with a very high degree of confidence that science could never prove or disprove the existence of God, because by its very nature, you're testing a hypothesis that exists outside of the remit of your experiment. There's no experiment that you can devise, fathom, or even possibly imagine that can scrutinize something that is not part of your experiment.
What if God decided to make himself provable? Couldn't he do that?
Or if it just pop up somewhere and be like, yo, I'm right here. You'd be pointing
Yeah,
your
why
telescope
not?
in the wrong
That's why I'm
place.
saying, that's why I think it's not a good answer to like how everything became to exist, because like why the hell would he not do that? That does not make any sense. Like, why is his whole thing, let's guess, let's make him guess, let's never show him that I exist? That's so dumb to me. I just don't get it. That doesn't make any sense. What sense does that make?
Evidently,
It's so dumb.
he's clearly made it very difficult to be able to detect him in an empirical way.
And yet you use
I mean,
male
I can-
pronouns for him, which is fucking wild.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's just convention. In reality,
Okay.
I would be referring to God as it, but that just sounds a little bit abhorrent. Like it is, it just sounds a little bit weird. And God isn't here to clarify his pronouns, so for the sake of argument, we're just going to go by convention. But I
Maybe
agree,
God should
God is
be.
not actually a he. I just heard
Maybe
a beeping
God.
noise.
Oh,
I don't know what that is. I don't.
Maybe like
Sorry.
why do you think God doesn't show himself ever? Do you think he thinks it's fun to see us be like, maybe he exists? Is that fun for him, or what?
It's
What's the deal?
little bit of a sidetrack, but I do have my own reasons as to why I think he's not making it very clear why he exists. Maybe one of them is around testing our morality. As in, if God made it very obvious that he exists, then we would all be living a certain lifestyle where I don't think any of us would be sinners because we understand what the consequences would be, heaven and hell. Shit, if God exists, I'm never going to be doing anything bad. You know what I mean?
Wait. But that's not what the Bible says. The Bible says that there are people, if you go by something like the Bible, there are characters in the Bible who know he existed and they didn't do exactly what he said. There are plenty, I'm confused by that. And you're
I mean, I'm confused
saying,
by it as well. Taylor. I'm not a Christian, by the way.
But you're kind of talking as if God showed himself, then all of a sudden we would lose our free will. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. We would still be able to make choices.
I wasn't implying that we would lose our free will. We would still have our free will and we'd still have complete agency over our decision making, but it would generally be the case, I would suspect for the overwhelming majority of people, that people would freely do good things, fearing eternal punishment or damnation in hell. And so in that sense, it's almost...
Wouldn't that be a good thing? Do you think that would be a good thing?
I would then suspect that, I mean, sure, it would be a good thing, but I think it would then defeat the purpose of why we were ultimately created, to be given complete agency over our actions without influence.
No, actually, I think the fact that you just said that actually makes your God like super evil and immoral. If you're saying that if God showed himself, that more people would freely listen to God's morality and avoid hell as a result, then it sounds like your God, if he actually wants people to not suffer for all eternity, he would have a moral obligation to make himself more obviously known. Otherwise, that means God is willingly sending people who would believe, non-resistant non-believers, if they had good reason. And God's saying, nah, I don't care that they're going to suffer for all eternity. I want them to figure it out on their own.
I definitely see where you're coming from, but I almost think it's like, these people that on social media are doing charitable deeds and they're going up to these homeless people and they're like, yo, here's $100, go wild with it, I really care for you. But the actual sentiment behind that charitable deed is that they just want social media clout. Would you say that they're actually doing a good thing?
Wait. What about the people who do believe in hell, though? And the whole reason they're being good or believing in God is to avoid hell. That's still, is that not the same thing?
It absolutely is. And I think people who are only acting good, where really what they just, because I think it comes down to intention. If someone intends to do harm, but they refrain from it because they, they're hoping for paradise and they're fearing hell, I don't actually think that makes them a good person. And God is the ultimate judge. Someone that has really evil, sinister thoughts, but withholds from that and does good because they think, oh, I'm going to get into paradise. So they don't actually think they're a good person. A good person resonates those thoughts deep within their soul.
Sorry, you were about to jump in, Taylor.
I was just going to ask, so then, if that doesn't make someone a good person, that's a bad way to go about it. Why does God make it that entire system.
Yeah.
Why does he create the system that way? That doesn't make any sense. Like, no one's gonna know hell exists or believe hell exists and then be like not afraid of it. Like people will tell me that's the case. I don't believe them. That's like saying, if I leave my boyfriend, he's gonna beat me up, but I'm not afraid of him beating me up because I'm never gonna leave. It's like, well, you're still afraid of it though, in the back of your mind, you know what I mean? That it just doesn't make any sense. And like, if he didn't want people to be insincere with believing in him or loving him or doing the right things, then maybe he shouldn't have created the threat of hell, because obviously that's going to have an impact on people's motivations, right?
Yeah, sure. But I guess this comes under. By the way, I was kind of a little bit sidetracked by the room. I feel like there's an angry mob of people in this room that want to castrate me, for lack of a better word.
Don't watch chat. It's not worth you watching.
There's a lot of testosterone in that chat, and I'm hoping that people on there can just see that we're trying to have an intellectual dialogue.
Knowing our chat, I think it's actually a lot less testosterone than you might think. We actually have a larger portion of our audience is female than most other atheist audiences. Not most, but a lot. I'm curious, Amir, does your God want as many people to go to heaven and as few people to go to hell as possible?
Yeah, I mean, the actual viewpoint that I adopt is something more, it's like solipsism. It's in, I think, and this is going to sound quite controversial to most people, but I think that the only real thing that exists in this world is you, and everything else you can almost consider it an illusion. So in that, I mean, look, the only thing that we can say with 100% certainty, and I think you'll both probably agree with this, is that I am experiencing something. That's it. Like, you can say that with 100% certainty. Everything else could be 99.999%, it could be 1%, it could be, but with 100% certainty, you could say, I am experiencing something, whatever that something is, I'm experiencing something. So I believe that if a God exists, everything that exists in the world has been created purposely for you, and you are being judged by your own moral compass, because we all have different moral dispositions.
Wait, okay. How is this even in the ballpark of answering my question? I for a refresher, I asked, does your God want as many people to go to heaven and as few people to go to hell as possible?
So I'm trying to answer the question as in to say that he wants you to go to heaven. Other people going to heaven doesn't make sense under a solipsism worldview, as in only you are real, Arden, or only you are real, Taylor. I don't exist. No one in the chat exists. None of it is real. Only you are real, and you're being judged by your own moral compass.
That's not even like what you're saying, like solipsism is real for every individual person? That's the weirdest version of solipsism I've ever heard.
It is. It's a unique twist on solipsism. It's my own unique take on it.
I don't think it makes sense. I don't think that's solipsism.
How are you defining solipsism? Maybe I've muddled the definitions.
Well, solipsism is just like whether or not anything is like actually real, right? Like
correct. That's my understanding of it as well. And I'm
so solipsism couldn't be like, we can't all be brains in a vat. If I'm a brain in a vat, none of you exist. So you can't also be a brain in a vat, and that would mean like everyone is simultaneously existing and not existing. Like, it's logically incoherent.
Yeah, I mean, this is, call it like an extended, unique version of solipsism, as in, I'm just making the claim that the only real thing that exists in this cosmos is you. Nothing else exists, and you are being judged. And it also, I think, explains the problem of suffering. You know, when a child is born.
Wait, if I'm all that exists in the entire cosmos, who's judging me?
God is judging you.
So it's me and God.
Correct.
Okay, Amir, I'm gonna tap out on this one, man. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think that makes any fucking sense at all. And since it's very esoteric, the just you belief, I'm not sure how much value there is in us sitting here unpacking it, because nobody who's watching is going to be impacted or influenced, because you are like the only person on the planet who has this view of God. So, Taylor, do you have any last thoughts you want to give to Amir before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I was trying to think of something, but I don't think I have anything. I'm sorry.
Okay, Amir, you've got like 15 seconds to give a last thought.
Well, I just want to say thank you for having me on the line. And I really do enjoy these conversations. I think they're very thought-provoking. They make you reflect on your own viewpoint. And to all the people in the chat, I hope you have a great day.
Cool. Thanks, Amir. Bye. That was weird. So
Oh my gosh.
Listen, I've been doing this for like 4.5 years. I know Matt's been doing it for 20. We've had a lot of people with a lot of experience here. It's very rare that I ever hear a new argument. Like maybe once a year, someone will present something that I've actually never heard of. Everyone is in their own solipsistic fugue state. That is where we all exist and don't exist simultaneously.
I I have a bad habit of like, so he called last time. I have a bad habit of like when things like that come up, just shutting down because I'm like, I don't even know what we're talking about anymore.
Yeah.
And it went the same way as last time. I don't know what we're talking about anymore. So yeah, that's how I kind of knew what was coming because I read the little thing. And I was like, oh no. I know I wouldn't have anything new to say, so I feel bad, but yeah.
It was good. I mean, like, I always think, like, while the people in the chat are recurring, most viewers on like YouTube in general aren't going to watch a lot of your content. So it's worth reiterating yourself a lot, like to get the same kind of message out there. As annoying as it is for the creator, repeating yourself is actually really, really good for the audience. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, and this was where we ended was also like nowhere near where we started, which was that whole notion of like, why is there something rather than nothing, I guess? Is God more reasonable for there being something rather than nothing?
Right. And last time we stayed on that point basically the entire time where like it's hard for me to go past like I just reject the thing of like, oh, it's just hard when you reject the whole thing of like, oh, well, this is a better answer. It's like, but it's just not. Like, I just don't think it is. And that it seems to be like that's all the further we can go because there's no, I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's much there past that. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. But
Mm.
it'd be like that sometimes.
I was honestly shocked when he brought up heaven and hell at all. I was like, based on how he's been talking, I genuinely didn't think he would have believed in a God who did a heaven and hell thing.
Yeah, I was a little actually kind of surprised by that too. Because I think he said he wasn't a Christian, so I don't know.
Yeah. We used to have an Amir from the UK, Colin, who was Muslim, so I don't know if that Amir was Muslim, but yeah. Anyway, we have super chats we can get to. I'm just reeling from, I really wanted to know if his God cared about where we went to heaven or hell, and all I got was, we're all in solipsism. I'm just like, okay. It's not even close to an answer. It's so frustrating. All right, let's get these supers. You want to go first?
Sure. $5 from Herbie Shine. What is this called? What did you say earlier?
Monad.
Monad.
Oh God.
Hashtag monad.
Can't believe you guys are bringing that here. Disgusting. $5 from Jack Neeson. A monad for Arden for putting up with yesterday. Thanks for the extra call. Hi, Taylor. You're both super cool. Arden, please show a snake or lizard fellow. Okay. Here, let me put up the next super chat and I'll see who I can fish out. It's probably just going to be Citrine again, to be honest. She's the most successful.
$4.99 from Hannah Hodgins. I'm feeling so monad today. I still don't think I really know what that means, but I believe you. Aww.
Okay. She's had 2 days to digest her food, so she is all set. She should be like her maximum chonk, but also still good to handle.
She is so cute and so beautiful.
Such a sweet baby. Hello. All right. I have 1,000. I believe these are Indian rupees. From BP, Blackpink. Is there any scientific correlation between fetal microchimerism and Christian purity cults? Why or why not? That sounds like a Forrest or Erica question.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sometimes people think because we talk on things that we know about other things. And I'm like, not a physicist, not a biologist.
$5 from Free Wolf 37. These shows always make me feel less alone. Thank you for your hard work, Arden, and all the people that run this show. The line is making a difference. Aw. Good.
True. $5 from Lugan Atchison. Women don't need God because they have monad. God damn it. I was so in for whatever the explanation was be, and you man.
$10 from the atheist mechanical evidence points to the monad. Seriously loving this new inside joke. Did you already tell me what the monad was and I already forgot it?
Well, the part of the joke last night was we kept asking what the monad was and we never really got a good, clean answer. Well, I say we, I was just there in the background. I looked it up though. It's like a sort of deistic proposition that God is like the one true intelligence. And this is where they kind of get to, because God is one, everything can be divided by one, which means God is a part of everything, which is like, and also 0 is nothing and 1 is infinity in relation to 0 and God is infinite. It doesn't make sense, but you know, I'm sure there's somebody who could present it in a way that almost makes sense, but that last caller last night did not. They paid $500 for me to open an extra line, and that was the call we got. It was wild.
Damn.
$5 from Perfectly. I know it's flawed, but I'm going to continue to say forward. From Perfectly Forward. One more call. Not tonight.
$9.99 from Hannah Hodgins. I'm an anti-theist in the way that ancient dogmatic religions 100% support barbaric and horrific beliefs, also believing in things with no evidence and claiming it as fact. Fair enough.
Right on. $5 from a Krenich saw a clip from a TikTok of Taylor's I'm a video on a channel I watch regularly. Good jump scare. In a video. Taylor saw a clip of a TikTok of Taylor's in a video on a channel I watch regularly. Okay, so some channel they watch clipped you, I guess, in their video.
Oh, I'm scared if it was good or bad.
I've had one Instagram post that's been the most notifications I've ever had on Instagram for the last like 2 months straight. And I'm like, surely this is on some like right-wing person's platform, and that's why it's not stopping. But
I think about that way too often. Also, Instagram scares me, so I do not post to Instagram, only TikTok.
I haven't really gotten comfy on TikTok, mostly because the way TikTokers post is very different. Like, you guys do a lot of the voiceover stuff on TikTok, and I don't get it. Like, it'll be like
weird at first.
The like, do you have any kids meme that was going around?
Oh,
the things people were putting, I'm like how is that? Yeah, how does that text you put on the screen fit that vocal line? I don't understand.
No, I had the same thoughts too when I first started TikToking. I was like, what the hell is this?
Makes me feel like a fucking boomer.
No, me too. I'm old. $9.99 from Hannah Hodgins. I don't have a problem with people being spiritual, and there is a fine and sensitive line when people claim they had a spiritual intervention, but there are countless people who have suffered and had none. No, yeah, I understand that.
Yep.
Completely.
£5 from Jessica Doodoo McButtface. My one monad, which is also not a monad, but also infinitely a monad, is proof that Growlithe is better than Espeon. I wish I had my drawing right now that Atheist Mechanic made for me that says, "You're so wrong. Espeon is the best."
$10 from John Paul. I was heavily indoctrinated, homeschooled until high school. Me and 3 of my 4 siblings are atheists. My little sister is still secretly. I was never close to my parents even when I believed #ex-Catholic. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, extreme sheltering of kids, I feel like does the exact opposite that people want it to do.
Mhm.
Almost always.
$5 from Atheist Mechanic. The monad is the best explanation. It always is, apparently.
$5 from Perfectly Flawed. Can we send Monad's witness to Amir's door to explain why Monad is the best explanation?
Oh my goodness. £10 from the Fuzzy Logic. In response to Paul's call, in a democratic society, it is not the case that the people decide which rights are worth protecting. Then we form governments. Wait, is it not the case that the people decide which rights are worth protecting, and then we form governments and alliances in order to protect and defend those rights? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I meant by, like, states give
Right.
rights. There we go.
$5 from Joshua Everett. I wonder if Amir has tried the Monad. He might like it.
It's never gonna stop. At one point, the caller screamed, "Anyway, back to the monad." And we were like, "No, we're gonna make that a shirt now." He was so upset. It was really funny. $5 from the Space Barbarian. When a theist tells an atheist that they have faith or are religious, it basically means you're as irrational as me. All hail the monad. Yeah, I genuinely, it pisses me off because, like, I remember that being said in church when I was little. So it's hard for me to judge someone too much for saying that because, a lot of us just get those kind of thought-stopping
Right.
cliches thrown at us. But, like,
Yeah.
if you think about it for 2 seconds, you see the difference. And so it just feels so dishonest from the jump.
And it's also funny that a lot of times, like in church and stuff, they'll make faith seem like such a good thing, but then they use it as a way to almost discredit people or make them seem like they're irrational. And I'm just like, wait,
Yeah,
is faith a good thing or not? So why are you doing that?
totally.
Uh, but yeah, no, I agree. They people say a lot of times oh, you have faith when you turn on your car and you think it'll start. I'm like, that is probability, but
Right.
okay.
Um, Another $10 in the Atheist Mechanic. The monad has a better morality than the God of the Bible, allegedly.
$4.99 from wait, I don't know how to say this, but Stomp 10. As former theist, how did you recoil your beliefs? Oh, reconcile. Oh my God, stop. Reconcile your beliefs with the existence of dinosaurs. I actually was told, I grew up in young Earth creationism, but I was told that dinosaurs existed, but they existed with humans and they were on the ark. Like, if you go to the Creation Museum, they have them on the ark, but as baby dinosaurs.
I'm trying to remember. So, we were definitely creationists, but I stopped believing in, like I said, we were kicked out of the church when I was 14. So I don't really remember all of the stuff we were taught about dinosaurs specifically. I do remember we got that line
Mhm.
about the likelihood of evolution is like a tornado going through a junkyard and leaving behind a fully functional
Oh
fighter
God.
jet or whatever. But I remember what their
That's
thoughts on
funny.
dinosaurs were.
Yeah, because sometimes they tell people they didn't exist at all, which is wild. I didn't know that until I got older, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty crazy.
they were put there by the devil. $4.99 from Hannah Hodgins. Why wouldn't all loving God create hell in the first place? How's that moral justice? Yup. I really wanted to
Beats
get
me.
there, but solipsism.
$5 from the atheist mechanic. Infinite torture for finite crimes is never moral. Anyone would punish for eternity is an immoral monster. I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
Another $4.99 from Hannah Hodgins. Imagine being God and creating a world where you send your children to hell simply because they didn't believe. Immoral God. Yep. I agree.
Yep. $5 from the atheist mechanic. Who is God to judge our morality? His own morality is piss poor. True. Agreed.
Facts. Going back and forth between atheist mechanic and Hannah here. Got another
I know.
$5 from Hannah. God, I'm gonna judge you for the way I created you and burn you. Sounds like narcissism in an abusive relationship. Yeah.
It is.
How dare you exist the way I created you?
$5 from the atheist mechanic. The best answer to anything is the monad. Facts.
I'm here. $5 from Kate Space. It's monad all the way down. You guys are making that very clear.
$5 from Sarah Talks podcast. Amir might have just said everything is monad with the what is this? I don't even know what that word is.
It's supposed to be solipsism, I think.
Solipsism comment. Yeah. I mean, I could see that.
Seems indistinguishable. It's a lot of. It's like the Fergal Burgle thing. Like I can just say, a sound that means nothing. $5
Right.
from Bobby Keniston. Today on my jog, I went by a house with chickens on the lawn. One of them crossed the street. I stopped and said, "Why? Why?" But it was silent. They're just so secretive, those chickens.
I feel like I missed something. That's okay. $10 from Joshua Everett. Weekly tithe to the Church of the Most Holy Divine Taylor. Aw. Greetings also to the Saint Arden of the Scaly Babies. Thank you for your tithe.
Yeah. $5 from One-Eyed Heathen. I'd rather be a monad than a no-nad, nomad, gonad. No shame in being a hoe lad. Do you and go mad. Honestly, I can't believe that all came out without me
I know,
stuttering.
I was like, I'm so glad I did not get that one. Oh no. $20 from
Oh my god.
Hedonista. I don't I cannot.
I think it's supposed to say a lot. Repetitio est mater memoriam. Latin
Is this supposed to be is Latin for repetition is the mother of memory? Has the benefit of also being true. Keep repeating yourselves. Feels like what education? Oh, well, I can't talk. What
Guerrilla
education?
Guerrilla education.
Guerrilla education? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I actually don't think repetition is a great way for memorizing. My degree is in psychology, and we had a unit on like a whole semester on cognitive development, and we actually talked a lot about how learning works and the things that like are effective for learning. Shit that I was never taught before at that point in school, and afterwards I got like perfect scores because I actually like understood how to put information in my brain. Repetition is actually like that's when you like do it for a test and then forget it like a week later. You know what I mean? If you're just like cramming it.
Exactly, yeah.
$10 from the atheist mechanic, $500 worth it to get the monad. Was it really? Was it really? I would disagree.
$5 from Catfish loving the show. Thank you.
Thank you. £5 from Tommy Tucker. The first rule of Monad Club is never talk about Monad Club. True.
$5 from Sarah Talks podcast. Also, Arden and Taylor are good bandicoots. Thank you.
We try.
We try so hard.
Every girl's dream is to be called a good bandicoot. $10 from Bike R Nurse Ratchet. Thanks for the great show tonight. Thank you for your donation.
$5 from Kate Space. Please make anyway back to the Monad shirt. I will pay cash money for this.
I'll work on it. 25 petite little nodule dollars from Joanna Vecellani. I think those are Polish. Yeah.
Oh.
Why is monad removal surgery so expensive? God damn it.
$10 from Bike RN Nurse Ratchet. Nick, if you learn street epistemology, you can get your nieces and nephews to critically think without sharing your views. True.
Yeah. I always want to be careful giving that advice, but I'm always like, I don't know. I'm going to be straight up. If you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you what my thoughts are. But
right.
like,
Yeah, that's the thing is like, I feel like that. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't like try and tell someone's kids like what to believe, kids in general what to believe anyway. But second of all, like, yeah, if they ask a question, I'm not lying. Like, what? I wouldn't.
Yeah.
What? That's just unreasonable.
Yep. $5 from Mr. Boricua 10. Fear not those who call. Oh, it's supposed to be your like Cockney accent thing. Fear not those who call upon false lords. Nay, for those knaves shall rule the day. They have denied the righteous light of the almighty monad. Beastie? I'm not really sure what
I'm
that
so
ending
glad you
was.
got that one. That was good.
Thanks.
I love that. $20 from, is it Ayla Ursus? Don't know if I said that right. Thanks for the sneak appearance. # team monad. Snake.
Oops, I missed this one from Hannah earlier. $4.99 from Hannah Hodgins. Arden, buy a snake and name it monad. I am at a surplus of snakes. I am wanting to sell our many hatchlings. I don't need to buy any new snakes. And if Matt ever talks about buying new snakes, you tell him stop it right now.
$4.99 from Juju Penguins. Thanks for being my virtual chore buddy. Oh my gosh. Why can I not read today? Chore buddies. Arden, this is for Citrin's appearance? Oh.
Citrine.
Did I say that right? Citrine's appearance. And a video of how to learn most effectively.
Oh gosh. One of the big things is doing recall exercises. Like if you sat through a lecture and you took notes on the lecture, come up with divide it into some subjective amount of categories. Say there was 4 major topics in the thing. Don't look at your notes for 24 hours after the class, and then sit down and try to recall as much of that information as you could from those 4 sections. Recall is one of the best things, and then compare, identify areas where you're like, okay, I really internalized that. Then identify some areas where that one wasn't so good, or I completely missed the mark there. Use that to focus on. Keep doing recall exercises. Also try explaining it to someone else. That is really helpful to help cement that knowledge in your head. $10 from Hedonista. I agree with you, but appreciated what you said about repeating your point to the audience. Keep it up. You're amazing. Sorry for the typos. Right on. Thank you so much, Hedonista. I'll repeat shit at you all day if you want. It's great.
$5 from Joshua Everett. TACIS will be so fun this week. No one tell the hosts about Monad before the show starts.
TACIS is the name of our trans show.
TACIS.
It used to be the Transatlantic Call-In Show because our other
Oh, I get it now. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're okay.
TACIS,
It's
okay.
honestly, it's a really clumsy name. It worked when our other host from the UK was on regularly, but now she's not really involved anymore. And so now it's kind of like we did an MTV. We're like, well, now the meaning of the acronym doesn't make sense. So I guess we're just going to call it the acronym. I'm not sure if that'll stay around forever, but that's what everyone knows it as now. So it's kind of hard to change.
Yeah.
$5 from Empress Lizard. We paid $500 and got Monad. We're going to use the hell out of it. That's valid. And with that, everybody, that was the last super chat. So we are going to pack it in for the night. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you to all the mods. Thank you to our call screener. I think it was Flabbergasted tonight. Yes. Thank you, Flabbergasted, for those calls. Thank you to the callers, even the ones who sucked a little bit. We appreciate all you guys, and you have an awesome rest of your week. And as I roll this outro here, don't forget, if you go over to... Sorry, hold on. The settings are annoying where I have to let the volume hit max before I turn it down. Otherwise, it'll just keep fighting me to turn it up. Don't forget to go to patreon.com/calltheline. You get access to ad-free episodes of our podcast. You get to have your name in these credits here. And you get access to, with the $15 and up tier, our new upcoming LionCon online live mini conventions that we're doing every single month with our creators. So lots of exciting content for you there. Go check it out and come back here next week. Bye, guys.